Hello guys, I'm Super Ron, welcome back to the channel, and we're here again at Autoshack, and we've got another B7 RS4, so I'm sure you can guess what we're doing with this one. So this is a 2007 B7 RS4 Avant, and of course we're doing a carbon intake clean. Like we've done many times before, we're going to walnut blast the intake runners to get rid of all the carbon buildup, to get the performance back where it should be, and eliminate that ugly problem of the smoking on startup. We've been doing a lot of walnut blast carbon intake cleans lately, so I wasn't going to film this one. But when it turned up, this is an absolute stunner, and it'd be criminal not to film this one. A lot of cars that come through here look good on camera, but once we start getting around and underneath them, they can be a little bit on the rough side. But this one is absolutely mint. It's got some really cool modifications, and this is almost my perfect RS4. It's got the full black pack, so all the chrome around the windows and around the front grille is satin black. It's sitting on some nice coilovers, so it's got a subtle drop. It's got the 20-inch rotors from the B8 RS4s, so they fill the arches perfectly. It's got some nice little mods inside. The steering wheel's been trimmed in Alcantara and the gear knob as well. And it's got these fantastic ceramic brakes on this one. They are massive. So I'm excited to see this one on the test drive once we're all done and see how they perform as well. It's also had the standard rear calipers, colour matched to the front. So overall, this car does look awesome. So this car's done about 90k, so we'll see what the in-light tracks are like, how clogged up they are. But I can guarantee by the end of this video, there is going to be a vast improvement. So let's get this one up on the ramp. So you guys know the drill by now. We're going to take the inlet manifold off, see how coked up they are, carbon clean all the inlet runners and the inlet valves, and take the swirl flaps out as well, because the screws on these have been known for backing out and then going into the engine and causing all sorts of damage. We also replaced the PCV valve because that is what is actually causing all these problems. It draws too much oil into the intake and then that just gets burnt onto the valves. And here are all the new bits, all genuine AUDI, inlet manifold gaskets, PCV valve, a full service, spark plugs, oil filter. And while it's off, the owner wants us to fit a full set of 8 injectors just for peace of mind as well. So let's get a quick strip down. So it looks like this inlet has actually been off before. From previous RS4 knowledge, I know that this pipe here should come out of that gap there, which is why it's not clipped in its little channel there. That should sit in there where that yellow stripe is. That should clip in there, but it can't go down because it's the wrong side of the inlet. So for some reason, this inlet has already been off. And we are all stripped down. So let's have a look how these are. See, it's a bit clumpy in there. They always get the build up on the valve stems themselves. This inlet's definitely been off. So it's had a clean out once in its life. Just shows how quickly it does build up. On the valve stems there. It's quite a gunky one. See, just the usual build-up of snot. What people struggle with is this back water hose down here, because they leave this connected to the inlet. So you can see what this should have factory clips on here. So previously they've took it off here and left this on the inlet. But we take the PCV valve back, take this back, and then we don't have to touch these because they're almost impossible to get to. And that leaves this water line still connected. A little top tip there. Inlet, doesn't look too bad in there, just oily. So we'll give that a full flush out. And the separators, there's no build up on the end. A bit oily as well, but they'll be going when we de-swell flap it. So let's clean ourselves up. We'll find out which ones are TDC by putting a bit of brake cleaner in there. And we'll get the Walnut blaster out. That's all the injectors out. They weren't too bad. They managed to just prise out with a bit of WD. You see I've got one with an X on. The plug just cracked on that one, but they all came out whole. Nothing got left in the cylinder, which is awesome. So let's get these ones back in. So that's bank one, all in. 4 new injectors. All back in with new clips, new seals. So they are good as new. Just took this side out and then kind of realised it's going to be easier to carbon clean it without the fuel rail in the way, because it's a bit awkward to get around the rail. So I'll leave these ones out. I'm going to mask this side up and let's get Walnut blasting. And that's halfway done. So there's a nice clean tidy one, and you can see the before, how clogged up they actually get to how it should look. Got these ones done. See how clogged up this one is and how much room there is around the valves in this one. It's a huge restriction in performance. Got that one done. So now we've got to turn the engine over and get these ones closed. We've got to do that from underneath. And that's another 2 all clean. Full flow through there now. Looking much better. And this one's all done as well. And that was quite a gunky one, this one. So that's come out perfect. And turned it over once more. And now we've got all 8 complete. Exactly as it came out of the factory. You can see how much more room there is now. So much better flow. And haven't got that horrible oily mess, because they were quite clumped up. And next up, I'm going to take the swell flaps out of the inlet manifold. So that's that problem solved. And then we can get these last 4 injectors in and put it all back together. So let's get onto the inlet. So to get to these troublesome screws, got to knock out these little core plugs. Then we can get a Torx in there and undo the screws off the shaft, because they are the problem. Those little bumps there, they're actually screws that can fall out, and that's what we want to get rid of. So let's get stripping down. And that's all the swell flaps removed. You saw me go through these holes, and you can see there where they screw into the centre shaft. We leave the shafts in so the ECU's still happy, because the little sensor still thinks the shaft's moving on both ends. So it doesn't bring any ECU lights. And the shaft itself is actually moving, but it's not moving any swell flaps. They're out, they're in the bin. So now we've just got to Loctite the core plugs back in again, and we'll be done. So that's the other 4 injectors in, all in nicely. So now we've got a full set of 8 brand new injectors. Got the new inlet manifold gaskets on, so that's all fresh, ready to go. But just before I put the inlet on, just going to do the oil filter change, because it's a lot easier to get to. So we've got the new genuine filter to go on. And then we've also got the PCV valve at the back, which we're pretty sure is the source of the problem of all this oil getting into the inlet, is to do with this device. So we've got a brand new one of them. So we're going to get that changed, and then we can put the inlet back on, get this finished off. And all back together. All the inlets on, all the fuel rails on, fuel lines, everything is plumbed back in. Just before I put the airbox in and put the header tank back on, Just got a new set of spark plugs to go on as well. So we'll get them in, all 8, change the oil, and we're ready for a start. Another common problem on these is the oil cooler lines corroding, and they're horrendously expensive from AUDI. And it looks like this has had an AN adapter made up and AN lines going all the way up to an aftermarket oil cooler, which is pretty cool. It makes sense the horrendous price the AUDI one is to upgrade. So let's fill it up with oil and carry on. And it's back alive. Right, let's get this unwrapped, get it down and take it for a test drive. And when we're all done, we can go panning for gold. It's not quite as exciting, not quite as valuable. We can see all the carbon that's just been taken out. That's what we're ended up with. This isn't just from this one, this is from a couple of cars. Just recycles all the walnut in the bottom. And then we reuse it again. Right, let's take this one out for a little test drive, make sure everything's alright. Getting quite accustomed to these B7 RS4s now. It's got lots of the same mods as we usually see, so it's got the Miltech exhaust and the K&N filter, which all sound great. This one's also got the ceramic brake upgrade, so it's going to be cool to see the difference in them, see if they're worth their money. Also got the nice trimmed Alcantara steering wheel, so we've got that nicely covered up at the moment. I'm not sure whether these seats are standard B7. Usually they either have the wing backs or the older style Recaros, like in my C5. I don't know if these are out of the B8. Not sure. This is also the first one we've had on coilovers. Normally we just fit lowering springs and retain the DRC. And with it being on the huge rotor 20s, it actually rides pretty nicely. It all looks okay, we've got no lights on, all the levels and temperatures look good. So we'll get this back cleaned up and ready for the customer to collect it. Brakes on this are mega. It's nearly put me through the windscreen. So they look cool and they do their job as well. So that all checked up and finished, that is going to wrap up this episode. I wasn't going to film this one because we have had quite a few B7 RS4 carbon cleans on the channel now. I thought I was going to have to rename the channel to the Walnut Blasting Shop, so I just kind of skimmed over, taking the inlet and everything off. But we have got other videos that shows the process a lot more in detail, but I just couldn't pass up the opportunity of filming this one. It is absolutely stunning. I was going to get one of these. I was looking at them for a long time before I got my RS6, and this one is an absolute stunner. It's exactly how I'd have mine in the Avant, in this colour, a nice little drop on 20-inch wheels because they just fill the arch so much nicer. The only difference I was going to have is I was going to have the 20-inch versions of the RS4 wheels like I had on my S6. They just look amazing on this, but it does pull off the B8 RS4 rotors so well. They're so wide, fill the arches nicely, and house those gorgeous ceramic brakes. And not only do they look so cool, it absolutely stops on the button. It was like I was test driving the Lamborghini Gallardo again that we put the gearbox in here. So we're all cleaned up, ready for the customer to collect in the morning. Make sure you give this video a like and tune in next time because there's no telling what we could have on next. The variety here is always colossal. And for now, no more B7 carbon cleans. I'll save them for another day. So until next time, make sure you have fun.